My name is Jared, and this is my story on going from payroll door-to-door salesman to brand owner, business owner, and coach in 2.5 years. So I worked for a company that sells human resource and payroll software, and I would go door-to-door in business parks or cold call businesses or cold call accountants and try to sell small businesses payroll. And that was absolutely awful. Not only because I hated what we sold, but I also did not like the culture at all. Extremely corporate, extremely micromanaged situation, and it was very unfulfilling. And I knew that I could do more with my life. And beyond that, you're just working your absolute ass off to basically be a slave, And I remember a time when I looked up what the CEO of the company was making, and he was making 7 million, and I just thought to myself, like, this guy's like 7 years old. This guy's like 50 years older than me. So you're telling me if I work 50 years in a company and doing a job I don't like, I can maybe make 7 million when I'm in my 70s. That is the worst trade-off ever. Ever. That just sounds awful. So I knew then I needed to start some sort of business. I'm like, real wealth is in business ownership, right? So I knew I needed to start a business, and I read somewhere that the best entrepreneurs combined multiple passions into their business model to have the most fulfillment, to have the most success, et cetera, because business can be very difficult, when you're starting out. So you want to do something that you actually enjoy, so it makes enduring those times a little bit easier. So spent some time thinking about what kind of business I want to start, and I ultimately came to the conclusion that I wanted to take my passion of like spirituality that I was very into at the time and fashion and streetwear. And I was like, I'll combine the two and I'll make a sick brand that is at a very dope level of aesthetic, but also has a deeper meaning. So that's exactly what I did. I came straight from sales. That was the only skill set I had was selling. So if you don't own a brand, you need a lot of skills. You need marketing, you need graphic design, you need website, Shopify, third-party apps, email marketing, copy, all of this sort of stuff. I didn't have any of it. So dealing with manufacturers, all that. So what I started with was a course on Udemy for like $80 to learn graphic design. Because I was like, I need to understand how to create cool designs to sell cool clothes. Duh. So that's where I started. And I was awful. I was dog shit. I've always had a knack for designing, and I kind of can understand like proportions and stuff like that, but still, that was awful. It was really bad. And I just kept designing, and I kept talking to manufacturers, and I kept designing, and I kept ordering samples and trying to find products I actually liked and trying to make designs I actually liked. And eventually, in around December, I started in July of 21. I actually got some designs and some products I actually liked and wanted to take into production. So then that was a process of learning content, because I rented a studio. I didn't know anything about content creation at all. And moral of the story, I launched in February 22. And that was pretty exciting because that was my first taste of internet money. I was at dinner getting sales. It was a really eye-opening experience of the possibilities of the internet and what starting a brand can do. While that time I was working. So in terms of like time allocation, if you're somebody in a 9 to 5 right now, you need to really give up weekends for a couple of years. You really need to give up a lot of things that don't serve you, like drinking and going out. You just have to. There's just no way around it, because you need to learn the skills necessary in order to make the money you want. And the only way to learn the skills is to practice and do the work. And the only way to do the work is to say no to things so that you can have time to build the skills, because your current job probably is not building the skills that you need right now, typically. So I launched that, and that grew pretty steadily. We had a rough start. I got banned on Facebook. There was like so much shit that happened. That was my first understanding of truly how little I knew when it came to running a business. Pretty insane. So continued to grow that. It grew pretty rapidly, towards the end of that year. And we had very, very big names wearing it, like John Summit, etc. Started getting into stores with like Easy and Fear of God and Essentials, those types of brands, which were fantastic wholesale orders. And then we really started to find our way in a very unique position, because we built a lot of amazing connections through the brand that are public figures, like celebrities, professional athletes, and people of that nature. We started to build those, relationships because they liked our brand, right? And so I thought of the offer of creating like done for you brands. I don't know anybody else really that is doing it the level that we're doing it at. And I reached out to the people that I had connections with and built relationships with through the brand. I said, hey, we'll build you your own brand. You'll maintain equity. You'll pay us for all of our work, our expertise, our connections, etc. And we will launch. And if you want us to operate on the back end, we can. And after 2 days after thinking of that offer, I had my first client paid in full. So I was like, okay, I definitely have, there's definitely a model here that is very replicable and that the market wants. And from there, I reached out to more athletes, people I didn't know, agents, managers, etc. There was a time where just recently I was flying all over the country doing meetings. I would fly to a city. I would land, check in, get a car, go to my hotel, change, have a dinner meeting, wake up, have a lunch meeting, shower, change, dinner meeting, go to next city, meeting, to meet in person with agents, managers, these professional athletes. I quite literally felt like I was in Ballers, if you've ever seen that show. And that's been evolving ever since. It's been an incredible journey. It's been incredibly rewarding to be able to work with the people that I do and to fulfill the service that we're actually able to fulfill, which is not easy. If you don't have a very deep understanding of how to create a brand, good luck. Good luck, because we take their vision and what they want, and we literally storytell it into the style that they want through clothing, which, again, you need a lot of experience in just brand building and a lot of amazing partnerships and relationships to actually execute this. So beyond that, after I started to get some success doing, Phantom and the brand, and I've, been in the space for some years now in terms of brand building, that's when I decided that I wanted to create a personal brand, because I wanted to share the value that I've gotten, and just maybe go in the info product space and provide value there. I don't know. And I started to create content seriously about 2 months ago in June of 24. And it's been very cool. I knew the potentials of the internet, but I didn't really know the potentials because I wasn't creating content. And it's so cool to just meet so many amazing people. I'm a coach now. That kind of fell into my lap. People were reaching out to me like, hey, like I want to work with you. I want to be mentored for brand building, for business, or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, okay. Like I'll create an offer, right? Offer creation, skill set, offer creation. I'm like, hey, I'll do this for that. It'll help you do this. It'll help you get that. I know you're struggling here. Selling, offer creation, skill sets, right? It can be applied to anything. And so now, we're working and we're growing, the brands from scratch. We are working with existing brands as well and helping them grow. Depends on obviously the level of complexity and where they are as a brand. If they're a very mature brand, obviously, we're really digging into the weeds on how they're acquiring customers and profitability. If they're starting out, it's really about brand alignment, brand direction. So just really depends on where they're at. We tailor all of our approaches to them because, again, we've done all of it before. So we're very well versed in that. We're very full service. And then with my students, it's more just like a side thing that I just really enjoy helping people. So that is my entire journey from door to door to coach, brand owner, business owner. Now, here's what I think you should take from this video so you can do it yourself. I made a lot of sacrifices starting out, a ton. I stopped going out. I've been sober about a year. My time allocation is so laser focused on output and improvement that there was no other choice for me to succeed. And the reason I made such a hard line in the sand to be so focused and so driven on making this happen is because I didn't see another choice, right? We live into our standards. We really do. If your standard is, like, if you're relatively happy in your 9 to 5 and you're kind of like thinking about flirting with, owning a business, you're never going to do it. It needs to be such a ingrained decision that you absolutely need to do for you to actually do it. So that was me. I was like, there's no way that I'm going to keep getting disrespected, keep feeling like a slave. There was no other way. There's no other option. And so I made the appropriate decisions to make this happen in terms of focus, in terms of sacrifice, in terms of investing in myself, in terms of work. That's what it takes. That's what it takes. I mean, maybe you can do it another way. It might take longer. Maybe you could have done it better. It might take, a quicker amount of time. But there's going to be a period where there's just so much sacrifice. It's absolutely needed because you're in a position that you want to radically change. And that's what I would take from this. But I would also take that it's very possible. And I would also take that it's, honestly, you can actually guarantee it if you do the actions I did. It's a science. If you do exactly what I did, you'll get the exact same results, meaning you can do it, which is great. So I'll leave you with this, right? You can do it. If you've already done it, fantastic. But you can do it. Short-term sacrifice is long-term gain. As long as you're doing the daily outputs as you should be, it's very inevitable. It's completely inevitable. It's just a matter of time. The more creative and the more experience you gain, the better your skill sets. And again, there's no way around building skill sets for getting to this point. You need them. You absolutely need them. You can expedite them with a mentor and a coach, which I think is fantastic. That's why I do it for my students, because I see the acceleration in real time. But it still doesn't stop you from having to do the work. So it's great to meet you. If you're still here, great to meet you. And I hope you like my content, and more to come soon.